Wanted to ask about. I understand the decision on which weapons to provide to Ukraine being one taken at the Pentagon, but from a diplomacy standpoint, does pausing the weapon deliveries for Ukraine make it more difficult to get Russia to come to the table in terms of a peace agreement or a ceasefire because it somehow relieves potential pressure on them?
It's a very good question, but it's good that it's not going to be a factor because we haven't paused sending weapons to Ukraine. This is one aspect, one situation, one event that has been changed. As you heard from the DoD, there are multiple robust other options and efforts regarding the Ukrainian situation with weapons. Again, I don't speak for the DoD. I can only refer to their statement and to what they've stated very bluntly. The president has also indicated his remaining commitment regarding Patriot missiles. This is not, I will reinforce this is not a cessation of us assisting Ukraine or of providing weapons. This is one event in one situation, and we'll discuss what else comes up in the future, but be wary of painting too broad a brush there. All right.
Okay, so this is actually not one event and not one situation. This is the second time that US is pausing military aid for Ukraine, because the first one was when they have shipped the 20,000 that was supposed to land in Ukraine, 20,000 missiles that counter-shoot drones that were sent to Israel. So this is not the first time, this is the second time. Of course, after the fact, we know that was sent to Israel because potentially there was supposed to be a war which happened between Israel and Iran. But again, this is not the first time. This is the second time that US is pausing certain military aid for Ukraine. My name is James Talberg, and I'm here today with Ukrainian political expert Ruslan Bortnik, going to discuss the latest updates about Ukraine. Ruslan, thank you so much for joining me today. So what is happening here? What do you make of that? Like I've mentioned, this is not the first time, this is the second time, and now it's starting to look a little bit more systematic in terms of pausing the military aid for Ukraine. So how do you perceive that? This is not the first, this is the second time. That's my first question. And second, how that will influence the political situation from the negotiations, just like that person have asked the Secretary of State of US, will that help or do the opposite in terms of the peace negotiations with the Russians, and also how that will influence the situation on the front line, because they're pausing quite a bit of military aid this time for Ukraine.
Well, James, this is not the second time when the military aid for Ukraine is pausing by United States officials. It's the third time, because the first time it happened in March this year, when United States Department and the President of United States demanded from Ukraine the agreement about ceasefire. You remember that dramatical time when the officially was announced that United States paused the delivery of the military aid for Ukraine for a few days. But that few days in March this year cost for Ukraine the losing Ukrainian presence in Kursk region of Russian Federation. It was a clear price, military price, for absence of this military support. But now the situation is some different. We are talking about a very special case. We are talking about a short list of American military support, mostly the anti-aircraft systems, special rockets, and shells for 150 millimeter shells for the artillery. But the general list of American military support of Ukraine for nowadays consists from the 80 positions. Now we have stopping for 12 positions. Very special case. I think, and in contrary, we don't have any strict demands from United States toward Ukrainian government. Now there is no new ultimatum. You have to do this or you will be without our support. And it looks like this is not only political but also technical decision. United States now is very exhausted after the war in Middle East, after the special operation against Yemen, very exhausted, has a very exhausted storages of military supplies. And war in the Middle East or war in the South Asia could happen in every moment these days. So there is a practical reason. Moreover, Trump is not ready to give this weapon without any payment. He's not ready to give this like a military aid. And the political signal is also could be, but it's a second level. Political signal, it's a demonstration of some kind of disappointment of Ukrainian and Russian behavior, of Ukrainian and Russian acceptance of United States wills towards achieving the ceasefire. Now, no one is ready, not Ukraine nor Russia are ready to accept a ceasefire for nowadays. You remember what Trump said a few weeks ago? Sometimes when you see the kids which are fighting in the park and you are not able to split them, you need just go step back and wait when they will be so tired to end this fight. And this situation looks like Trump made these steps back out of this conflict, and he's still looking on the situation, and he's still waiting of the change in the positions of Ukraine and maybe Russia. So because Trump made a call to Putin on just on the next day after that information about the pause in this military delivering was published. Everything is combined, everything is united in this process.
Trump actually have mentioned something after the conversation that he had with Putin that he's not quite happy. Can you pull up that video and we can listen to what Trump is saying after the conversation with Putin?
Yes, of course. And I'm going to put this video, but at the same time, I want to say that there is no any other reactions like sanctions or any type of political aggressions toward Russia, even with demonstration of some kind of disappointment.
Why did you pause weapons? Why did you pause weapons?
We haven't. We're giving weapons, but we've given so many weapons. But we are giving weapons, and we're working with them and trying to help them. But we haven't. You know, Biden emptied out our whole country giving them weapons. And we have to make sure that we have enough for ourselves. Who are you with?
Mr. President, there's going to be a lot of...
Okay, so he wants to have enough weapons for himself because they have emptied their resources for Ukraine and other wars. Anyways, he have talked with Putin, and apparently he's not very happy after that conversation. But just like you mentioned before, there is nothing that comes after those statements. No sanctions, obviously no additional military aid for Ukraine to protect itself.
Significant reactions, like descriptions of the situation. I'm very disappointed, but I'm not going to do something with Russia.
And he also mentioned that, well, that's not my war. Biden have started it, so I have nothing to do with that. I don't have to provide weapons. I don't have to go with sanctions. In fact, they're lifting certain sanctions of Russian energy companies. And I think Europe is getting a little bit concerned in terms of it may look like US and Russia are going to split the energy resources market.
We have few stages of lifting these sanctions. It started from the lifting the sanctions from the Russian companies which are building nuclear power plant in Hungary, PAX-2, and the United States made a decision to lift that sanctions from the Russian banks, Russian companies which are involved in that project. Then we had a situation when the United States lifted the sanctions from the Russian companies which worked with Syria. It even including the main Russian export company, Rosoboronexport. It's a main Russian company which is exporting Russian weapon abroad. And now we have also a very professional, very deep discussion about the possible buying of Russian Nord Stream 2 company in Europe by the United States businessman Mr. Lynch. And moreover, Kirill Dmitriev, who is responsible from Russian side, from the responsible for economical negotiation with United States after the dialogue between last dialogue between Putin and Trump, said that that was wonderful dialogue. And Russia is, he made a notice, he made a rumor that Russia and the United States are going to reopen, restart their economical cooperation. And of course, it looks very dangerous for European allies of United States. It looks very dangerous for Ukraine. Maybe the situation which I said half a year ago is happening in our eyes. What kind of situation? I'm talking about that United States and Russia are splitting their dialogue for the Ukrainian European part when they are not able to achieve some progress or agreement and so on, and the bilateral part when they are willing and are able to achieve a deep progress in economical and
Cooperation.
political cooperation. Yeah.
So what does that mean, that the war in Ukraine will continue as is with escalations or de-escalations, and meanwhile US and Russia will deepen their economical cooperation?
It means the military chances and abilities of Ukraine will be decreasing, and Ukraine will be losing more soldiers, more lands, and without crucial American support in some kind of equipment like a Patriot anti-aircraft system. But it doesn't mean the very fast critical situation for Ukraine. It doesn't mean that Ukraine will be collapsed in the nearest future. And I think Trump thinks so. So he clearly understands that without this military support, Ukraine will not be defeated, but we will be damaged more than it was before, and it could change Ukrainian position and position of main Ukrainian allies. We are talking about European allies of Ukraine, which has a very tangible relations with United States also.
Ruslan, I know you're short on time today, but speaking of Ukraine potentially losing even more land, can we go over the front line, what is happening on the front line? I would like to start with the Sumy region. There is about 50,000 soldiers on the border, and it's the distance between those soldiers and the capital of Sumy, which is the main city of the Sumy region, is Sumy city. There's 20-kilometer distance. Is there a threat for that city to be occupied? And then once we're done with the Sumy, we can go over other potential frontline points where Russians are taking the advantage of Ukraine having less support and less military aid and advancing on certain lines.
Yeah, here is the Sumy city. It's a capital city of Sumy region of Ukrainian lands. It's very close to Russian borders. You can see this white line. It's Russian-Ukrainian borders. And you can see that Russian forces now less than 20 kilometers from this city, near 20 kilometers from this city. And of course, Russian artillery, Russian drones are able to reach the city right now, and the situation, humanitarian situation in this city, worsening in our eyes. And Russia is continuing her offensive operation in Ukraine, and the last month has a record. Russia captured more than 560 square kilometers of Ukrainian lands. It's a record beginning of this year. Now Russia not only making offensive operation on the Sumy, which and if Russia will achieve the Sumy, it will be very crucial for Ukrainian political stability inside of the country. Of course, it will be a deep crisis. But also Russia is making a significant offensive operation in new direction in Kharkivska Oblast. You can see these spots, and Kharkiv is a very important, very big city of Ukraine, which was the capital of Ukraine almost 100 years ago, but it's still very, very big, very important city. And Russia is very successful in the south part of the front, in the Zaporizhia direction. Russia achieved one more settlement, and coming close to Zaporizhia, we have less than 30 kilometers on this direction. and Russia is successful in the south part of Donetsk Oblast, in the region of Velikaya Novoselovka, Ugledar, and Pokrovsk. So Ukraine is not able, even with American support, fully stop Russian offensive operation. And every month leads to the losing new and new lands. Nowadays, Russia is controlling more than 113,665 square kilometers of Ukrainian lands. It's much bigger, for example, than Hungary or any other middle-sized country in Europe. And this offensive operation is going on. The dialogue between Putin and Trump showed us clearly that Putin is not ready to stop this offensive operation because Putin thinks Russia has a big advantage now in the battlefield. He is not going to lose these cards without deep concessions from Ukrainian and United States side. So war will going on. I think this Russian offensive operation will continue till the middle of the fall, and then maybe when the weather will be worse because of raining and cold and so on, maybe then in the second part of the fall, the true negotiation process will start with finding some kind of compromises and concessions toward each other. Till that moment, we will be witnessing negotiation process and continuation of the war. All two this process will go together at the same time.
Ruslan, thank you so much for your insights and comments today. And friends, please like, subscribe, and share that video. And we'll keep looking closely at the situation, what is happening in Ukraine and around Ukraine, to update you with the latest news that we can get for you. Ruslan, thank you again.
Thank you, James.